Chapter 1: Echoes of the Past. In a quaint little town where the sun always shone lived a man named Timothy who was never alone. A writer by trade, with a heart full of dreams, he wandered the streets in search of new schemes. But deep in his soul there lay a dark fear of memories forgotten he wished to draw near. For his mind there lingered a ghost of times long gone, of memories he lost. One day as he strolled down memory lane, a vision appeared like a torrential rain. It was a face he remembered from long ago, a friend he once loved but had let go. The memories flooded back like a raging river of laughter and tears, of joy and of shiver. Timothy felt lost in the sea of his past, wondering why these memories would forever last. He sat down to write with a heavy heart, pouring his soul into every part. Words flowed like a river, and memories unfurled, each line a masterpiece in his own little world. As he wrote, tears fell like rain, each word a balm to heal his pain. For in these memories he found a release, a way to make peace with his past cease. And as the sun set on that fateful day, Timothy felt lighter in every way. For he knew now that memories live on in the hearts of the living long after they're gone. Chapter 2: The Bittersweet Symphony. As Timothy sat in his study, surrounded by stacks of paper and empty coffee cups, he couldn't shake the memories that haunted his mind. His pen hovered over the blank page, unsure of where to begin. The memories of his past were like ghosts that refused to be ignored, whispering to him in the darkness of the night. He thought back to his childhood, growing up in a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business. He remembered the long summer days spent exploring the woods with his friends, building forts and chasing fireflies until the sun dipped below the horizon. Those carefree days seemed like a lifetime ago, a distant dream that he could never quite reach. But it was the memories of Sarah that plagued him the most. She was the love of his life, his muse and his inspiration. They had met in college, two young souls eager to conquer the world with their words. They had spent countless nights talking until the sun rose, sharing their dreams and fears in equal measure. But as time passed, their love began to fray at the edges. Sarah's ambition pulled her away from him, leaving Timothy feeling lost and alone. He could still recall the way she had looked at him on the day she left, her eyes filled with tears and regret. It was a memory that cut him to the core, leaving a wound that refused to heal. As Timothy finally put pen to paper, the words flowed from him like a river, carrying him back to those moments that had shaped his life. He wrote of love lost and dreams shattered, of moments of joy and sorrow that had left their mark on his soul. The pain of those memories was like a knife twisting in his heart, but he knew that he had to capture them on paper, to give them a voice and set them free. And he wrote, pouring his heart and soul into every word, creating a bittersweet symphony of memories that would never fade. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars blinked into existence, Timothy finally laid down his pen, exhausted but fulfilled. The memories would always be a part of him, indelible and unchanging. But he knew that he had to keep writing, to keep the past alive in the present. For in those lay the key to his future, the fuel that would drive him forward into the unknown. And so he closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him like a wave, knowing that they would never truly leave him, a part of his story that would never be forgotten. Chapter 3: The Ghosts of Yesterday. Timothy sat at his desk, his mind swirling with the memories he had just captured in his writing. The bittersweet symphony of his past seemed to echo in silence of his study, tugging at his heart with a gentle yet persistent force. As he gazed out the window at the moon, casting its soft glow over the world outside, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. But just as he began to relax into the stillness of the night, a sudden knock at the door shattered the tranquility. Startled, Timothy rose from his chair and made his way to the entrance of his study, wondering who could be calling at such a late hour. As he opened the door, he was met with a sight that made his heart ache with both longing and sorrow. Standing before him was Sarah, the woman who had once held his heart in her hands. Her eyes were pools of regret and sorrow, mirroring the pain that lingered in Timothy's own soul. Without a word, she stepped into the room. Her presence filled the space with a weight that neither of them could ignore. For a moment, they simply stood facing each other, the ghosts of their past hovering between them like a heavy fog. The memories of their shared history seemed to dance in the air, whispering of what once was and what could have been. Timothy felt a surge of emotion welling up inside him, a tumultuous mix of love and anger, joy and pain. Finally, Sarah spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Timothy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for leaving you, for breaking your heart. I never meant to hurt you, never meant to walk away from what we had." Timothy felt a lump form in his throat, the weight of his unspoken words pressing down on him like a stone. He took a breath, trying to find the right way to respond to the woman who had once been his everything. "It's been years, Sarah," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Years of wondering what could have been, of regret and longing. But I've come to realize that the past is just that, the past. We can't change what happened, but we can learn from it, grow from it." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, her gaze locking with Timothy's in a silent plea for forgiveness. And in that moment, as the ghosts of yesterday swirled around them, Timothy found it in his heart to let go of the pain that had held him captive for so long. As they stood facing each other in the dim light of the study, a sense of closure washed over them, a feeling of acceptance and peace. The ghosts of yesterday began to fade, slowly dissipating into the night, leaving Timothy and Sarah standing alone in the quiet room. And as they shared a tentative smile, a glimmer of hope sparked in Timothy's heart, a flicker of possibility for a future untainted by the shadows of the past. For in that moment he realized that the memories they had shared would always be a part of him, but they no longer held the power to define his future. As the night stretched out before them, bathed in the soft light of the moon, Timothy and Sarah stood together, united by the ghosts of yesterday, but ready to embrace the promise of tomorrow. Chapter 4: The Road Less Traveled. As the days turned into weeks, Timothy found himself lost in a whirlwind of memories and emotions. The bittersweet symphony of his past continued to play in the background of his mind, a constant reminder of what once was and what could have been. But amidst the chaos and turmoil, a new sense of clarity began to emerge within him. One day, as he sat in his study, staring out the window at the world beyond, a sense of restlessness crept into his bones. The walls of his small town felt like they were closing in on him, suffocating him with their familiarity and routine. He longed for something more, something different, something that would shake him out of his complacency and reignite the fire that had once burned so brightly within him. And so, with a sudden burst of determination, Timothy made a decision. He would leave behind the safety and security of his home and venture out into the great unknown, in search of adventure and inspiration. He would take the road less traveled, the path that beckoned to him with whispers of mystery and possibility. With nothing but a backpack slung over his shoulder and a heart full of hope, Timothy set out on his journey. The world stretched out on his journey. The world stretched out before him like a vast canvas, waiting to be painted with the colors of his experiences and the strokes of his words. He walked through fields of golden wheat and forests of whispering trees, feeling the weight of his memories begin to lift from his shoulders. As he traveled, he met people from all walks of life, each with their own stories to tell and their own dreams to chase. He listened to their tales with rapt attention, drawing inspiration from the way they faced life's challenges with courage and resilience. He wrote down their words in his journal, weaving them into tapestry of his own narrative. And as he journeyed further and further from home, Timothy felt the chains of past loosen their grip in him. The wounds of his heart began to heal slowly but surely as he embraced the beauty of the present moment and the endless possibilities of the future. He realized that the memories he carried with him would always be a part of him, but they no longer held him back. They were the fuel that propelled him forward, driving him to seek out new adventures and create new memories that would shape his destiny. And so as the sun set on another day of exploration and discovery, Timothy knew that he had found what he had been searching for all along. He had found himself. Chapter 5, the final chapter. With a heavy heart, Timothy closed the final chapter of his memoir, his hands trembling as he set down his pen. The memories he had unearthed, the emotions he had relieved, and had taken their toll on him. Bert, as he looked back on the pages he had written, he knew that this was the closure and he had been seeking all along. The bittersweet symphony of his past echoed in his mind as he reflected on the journey he had taken. From the innocence of childhood to the heartbreak of lost love, the memories had shaped him into the man he was today. And as he gazed out the window at the fading light of day, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. He knew that his story was not just his own, but a shared experience, him to all who had loved and lost, who had dreamed and dared to live. The words he had written were not just for himself, but for all who sought solace in the beauty and pain of memory. As he rose from his desk, a sense of satisfaction filled his soul. He had put his heart on the page, allowing the ghosts of his past to find their voice and be heard. And as he closed the door to his study, he knew that he was ready to face whatever the future held. Walking out into the cool evening air, Timothy took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of fresh flowers and distant rain. The world around him seemed to shimmer with possibility, with the promise of new beginnings and endless horizons. And as he looked up at the star-studded sky, he felt a sense of gratitude for the memories that had shaped him, for the love that had lifted him up and the pain that had made him stronger. With a smile on his lips and lightness in his step, Timothy walked into the night, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The memories he had woven into his story would always be a part of him, a reminder of where he had been and where he was going. And as he disappeared into the darkness, he knew that his journey was far from over, that new memories were waiting to be made, new stories waiting to be told.